What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the first ever episode of the Purpose to Profit podcast. I'm super excited to have you guys here listening. And today I want to talk about the story, the journey of how I got here. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the title Purpose to Profit. I created this podcast to be able to bridge that gap between entrepreneurship, taxes, building a profitable business with purpose, and just truly understanding the importance of ownership. I'm super excited because I didn't think that there was a place where people could come to be able to, talk about true real life things that are happening, right? That leads to, whatever their why is, whatever their purpose is, things that move them. I think those things are good when you have, action behind it, but then also knowing like what's the end goal, right? If the end goal is, being financially independent, being financially free, okay, how do you get to that? And I believe the best way and the only way to get there is by profit, because you can start a business. You can do a lot of different things to generate money, but it's not about how much money you make, right? You guys know this. It's about how much money you keep, which is profits. So you can build the business and say, I make millions and millions of dollars, but I want to see the bottom line. I need to see that profit, because that's going to be the opportunity that actually pays you, that takes you home. So I want to talk about a lot of different things, but the behind the scenes of entrepreneurship, the work ethic behind the scenes, bringing people, from different industries, right? Bringing other financial experts, accountants, different people in different industries, from real estate, from business ownership to whatever that the audience is going to need, that I know can help them build that bottom line and profit and help you guys take actionable steps. So I'm super excited about that. Before I get started, my name is Ibrahim Mohammed. If you don't know who I am, I am a tax strategist. I am an accountant. I am a fractional CFO, bookkeeper, all the nine. Okay. And I'm just super excited about helping you win in your finances, helping you win by building up more profit to pay yourself. And that's why I want to be able to, share today. So first things first is I want to talk about my story. Okay. I think it's important for you guys to understand, where I come from, how, I got to where I am, and, what I'm truly passionate about right now. And so I'm born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. My family's both immigrants from Nigeria. I was fortunate enough to be born in Nigeria. I actually lived in Nigeria for about 3 years, from the ages of 4 to about 7 years old. And, that was, if you guys know any Nigerians, how important culture is, how important family is, how important, respect is. And, that's what my mom moved me back to Nigeria for, is to be able to go to school. I was in school, I think pretty much kindergarten, first grade. I didn't come back to the States, and I started back in second grade. So, those are my young age where I learned a lot. And I remember a lot of key things that shaped, the person that I am today, while I was there. And just super, humble and appreciative, because, I still have family out there today. My biological father is still out there today, which I'm super excited. Been putting some things into place to where, he's going to be able to come back into the States after, several years. Haven't seen him since 1999. And really, got brothers, got siblings, got a lot of family over there. My family's going to go retire over there. But I'm so excited about what I'm able to build here, to be able to put my family in position to truly live a life that, that is worth living. And, came back to Chicago, went to school here, ended up, I lived in uptown Chicago, if you guys know where that is. But my mom, I grew up with a mom who truly was an example of work ethic. And that was the thing that really encouraged me to keep going. Like, my mom came here, probably didn't have the best English at all. As an immigrant, started truly from the bottom, not having a lot, right? Living with other people, doing, probably like janitorial work, helping cleaning people and things of that nature. But she that didn't define her. Right. What defined her was her work ethic, to where she worked her way up. She went to school. She became a licensed practitioner nurse. She became an RN. She became a nurse practitioner, a director of nursing, until finally starting her own practice. And she was somebody that I looked up to, knowing that, that is somebody I could follow, right? From the work ethic standpoint, knowing, her being an entrepreneur today and doing the things she does. And she owned her main focus was doing that for her family. Her family always came first. Her children always came first. And, I admire that and I looked up to that. And my whole goal was like, okay, what can I do to be able to not just match that, right? But how could her floor be my ceiling, right? She put me in this position in the United States to be able to make some things happen. And, that's what motivates me all the time, is knowing the opportunity that I truly have to be able to make something of myself. And it's super exciting just knowing, where I started and where I'm coming along. So, my mom, she actually moved us from Chicago, Illinois to Evanston, Illinois, because she wanted us to have better schooling. And we moved to Evanston, and then this is trials and tribulations are always going to happen, but we bounce around. We moved from, Chicago to Evanston to Skokie, Illinois, and, ended up moving back to Chicago, because of different circumstances that happen when life happens. And, I was still going to school in Evanston at that time. I ended up going to Evanston Township High School, but because, at my freshman year, going to my sophomore year, I wanted to stay in the school. I didn't want to have to hop schools. Lucky enough, my aunt actually lived in Evanston even while we moved to Chicago, so I was able to utilize her address, which kept me, at school at Evanston. And I did a commute a significant long time of my high school career. I went from, I would wake up at like 5, 6 a.m. And I think this is why people ask me today, like, Ebe, like, how do you wake up at 4 a.m.? How do you have the motivation to wake up and go get things done? It's like, I've done it pretty much all my life. Honestly, I had to take 2 trains and a bus, or 2 trains and walk, or 2 trains and a bike ride until your bike got stolen in Chicago, just to get to school. And I would take the red line to switch onto the purple line, to get on a bike, or to walk to school. It's still a 10-minute bike ride. It's still a 30-minute walk. It's still a 5 to 10-minute drive. And I did that every morning just to get to school by 7 a.m. Right? I did that every single morning, and not a lot of people notice a lot of that stuff, but that is what shaped who I was today. And I did that going to high school, to where I played sports. I was really good, at math and numbers. But for me, I think the defining moments for me was I was an athlete, right? I always ran track. I ran track pretty much throughout my whole entire life. And I was a high jumper, I was a sprinter, and I played soccer. And I remember my freshman year, I ended up playing on the freshman B team. It's how I met a lot of my friends today. I was on the freshman B team. I thought I was good. I would play soccer during recess in middle school and things like that. And I was super excited about, being able to play, in high school, until I was on a B team. I'm like, okay, I'm on a B team. Like, what's going on? Just to realize that I really did suck. I wasn't the best. I was okay. Like, I was a recess. Recess is almost like you're one of those intramural heroes, right? I was good at playing, for fun, but when it came to organization, I didn't know what a center back was. I was supposed to be center back at one time. I was playing forward. I didn't know. I was all over the place. But a friend of mine told me, yeah, you suck. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this isn't the path that I was gonna go. And I actually was playing, or I was working out at the gym with one of my buddies, John, and he probably doesn't even remember this, but I ended up, talk with him. And he's like, bro, you work out with us all the time. Like, you might as well play football. And I was like, yeah. I played flag and, again, recess, intramural guy in middle school. I don't necessarily know how that's going to work at this level. I was like, why not? So my sophomore year, I actually started playing football, and I started off as a DB. Which is a defensive back. I was playing defense. I had no idea what I was doing. Like, absolutely no idea. They tried to have me backpedal. They talk about cover 1, cover 2, all these different. I did not know the plays. I was so confused. But I was like, let me give it a shot. And I tried it. I tried to, guard people, play DB, guard the receiver. Man, I got burnt every single time. And so I was like, you know what? I was like, coach, I don't think I can do this. I have no idea what I'm doing. But you just tell me, to go do this and run a route. I could do that. Bet. So I switched to wide receiver, and tell me to run a route. I could figure out how to do the lines. Okay, okay, go straight. Let's just go. Bet. oh, turn here, and then okay, boom, I could learn that, and that was good. I could run the routes, but I couldn't catch for jack. So that didn't work out as well. So I was playing wide receiver, but I couldn't catch for anything. But one thing about me is I'm very, very persistent. And even if I'm not good at something, I'm going to get better at it. And I was super small. Like if you guys look at me, I was little, scrawny. But I knew inside of me there was something bigger, and I was called for something better. And behind closed doors, like I was legit, I was out there, I was grinding, I was making things happen. And, I go home, during that. I think I maybe played one game, and I went in for like a block play. I had to go block somebody. I was super excited about it. I was like, hey, I'm in the game, bet. And I probably only played like one, maybe two downs, and it was literally just me blocking my sophomore year as a receiver. But that summer, I started grinding. Like I would legit, anytime there was a quarterback doing something, I'm going to find him. Anytime there was, a practice, a school camp, like, and by school, I mean like my high school, right? Because my family couldn't afford different other camps like that. My brothers today, they're so spoiled. They don't even know like what I had to. I was grinding. Like, where my camp was? My camp was at the crib. Me doing fingertip push-ups. Me throwing the ball to myself and catching it. Me literally watching videos to try to figure out, okay, for me, the person I watched during that time was Wes Welker. And I was like, it's the best I got. And I was super excited. I was like, okay, how's he in the slot position? Like, how is he able to run his routes? How is he able to catch things? And that's who I embodied. But I kept on developing myself. And then my junior year came. I was better, but I still wasn't as good. I actually think I got in for, one. I remember one reception. I had one reception for a hitch route, but my quarterback, Max, it was probably garbage time, definitely garbage time. And I ended up getting one catch. I think I caught it it went for like 9-10 yards. I was like, bet, okay, I got a catch. I was like, this progress. I went from not playing to I played and I caught something, right? Caught a pass to where I was like, man, I got this. Like, this is me. To where then the next summer, grinding like heck, showed up to everything, and it started to get noticed. I started to get noticed going into that summer. Going into that summer, people started to notice, just like, this guy's good. Like, this guy's getting better. To where it's like, okay, I went from the 4s and the 3s to where it's like, oh, this guy's running with the 1s now, right? You get to your senior year, you start developing, and I became that second guy. It was me and my other guy Victor, right? We were the outside, so it was 1 and 2. I wish I should have been. I was a terrible number. I was 83, but ended up being one of the go-to guys on offense. To where I ended up having like 18 plus receptions, over 300 yards, and I realized that moment. I passed up some people who started up before me in my sophomore year and in junior year. And it was because of my work ethic and being persistent with what I wanted. And I say all that to say is I didn't quit, right? I didn't quit. Like, I realized, okay, instead of me just hopping around, oh, I'm not good at soccer, or I'm not good at track, I'm not good at all these different things. But I did run track as well. But I was like, man, rather than quitting, can I be persistent in what I know I'm good at and what I've seen results? I seen progress to where I was like, let me just keep going. And I think that what would have made me go faster is me having a mentor, which I didn't necessarily have a mentor, to where, I did good enough my senior year to where I earned a scholarship to actually go play at Ashland University. And that opportunity, me not having a mentor was the reason why I went to Ashland, but everything happens for a reason. But me going to Ashland, the reason how I chose going to the Ashland University was because they had a good football field, and that they had decent colors. My family, we went to go visit. I was like, it's D2, it's not D3. Cause I got recruited by a whole bunch of D3 schools, except for one Division I AA, Butler, that was recruiting me. And I was like, I mean, I know I could potentially have a chance to play at D2. I don't want to go D3, but I was like, why not? I just went for their colors and their football field. Like the way the stadium looked. I was like, it looks better than all these other ones. That was how I made it. I would look at schools strictly because I saw that they had their names on the back of their jerseys. I had no mentorship. I had no idea on how to go about it. So that's why I ended up. And then I ended up meeting one of my best friends today, Alex. And it's he, he's somebody who kind of like, I grinded like that summer. Like I got cut up. We would go to practice together. We would eat together. We do some crazy stuff together. And we grew a bond during that time to where I realized how important it is to have people who are where you want to be, who are further in life than where you are, to where you can catch up. Right. But now you have something to move. Now you have, like, I don't want people that were just like this. I want somebody who's ahead of me, right? Who I can try to match their level of energy. I could try to match. Like this dude he went to Massillon High School, the Massillon Tigers. Like their high school football field was the size of it was bigger than Ashland, right? They have an indoor facility. They have a Netflix show or a movie. That's when I realized, I was like, man, okay, there's so many levels to this, but I've been in this pond. I need to get, I've been in the pond with this small fish to where there's this other pond with bigger fish that I just didn't get exposure to, that I had no idea about. And that opened up my eyes to what was truly out there. So, during that time, he ended up deciding to move to go to Akron. And I was like, dang, I'm out here in Ashland. I'm trying to grind it out. I'm trying to work my ways into the twos, as a freshman. I didn't redshirt as a freshman. And, I was like, again, didn't have mentorship. So I didn't redshirt. I wanted to play thinking I was going to play, which I wasn't going to play. I should have redshirted. But ended up didn't redshirt, played, some JV, a couple JV games to, get, I'm still learning the game, right? Got some reps and whatnot. But come spring ball, played a little bit, but I decided, my buddy went to Akron. Like, I trust him. Let me go to Akron with him. He's going to go try to, join the University of Akron team. He's got recruited, this man had offers from Ohio State, everybody. So I was like, let me follow along. Let me try to, see if I can make it happen. But I had to give up my scholarship at Ashland, which I did. So I was like, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to go be a preferred walk-on at Akron. And did that. Got to Akron, and I didn't even get into the school yet. I didn't even apply yet. I didn't do anything. So I'm going back and forth to Chicago. I'm applying, to get into Akron. And during that summer, in that transfer, like, just crazy things happened. But long story short, I ended up going home, and I was playing basketball, with my buddies. At that point, I had a 40-inch vertical. I was dunking with ease. Like I had the bunnies. Okay. But too much bunnies because, I went up for a rebound and non-contact, ended up tearing my ACL. And that was a shift in my life because I transitioned from Ashland to getting enrolled at Akron, tearing my ACL during that summer, and I don't have insurance. Like I'm not at the point where I have insurance yet, and I can't get surgery right away. Like, and I'm independent at that time. I'm not under my mom's insurance. Like we weren't, in a point where we could financially do that. And, I didn't have insurance, so I had to go apply for Medicaid, and that takes time. And this is me being transparent because it was a changing point in my life to where I was like, dang, life isn't as easy, but you have to keep going, right? Because there's people who are counting on you. I had family that was counting on me, and so I had to keep going. So applying for Medicaid, I couldn't get surgery right away, so I couldn't even work out with the team like I was supposed to. And then, my buddy ended up, didn't end up going along with the team. So he ended up, going to the Navy. So now I'm back I'm at Akron. I'm by myself. I don't know anybody here. I tore my ACL. Now I'm trying to recover. What do I do now? Do I pack my bags and say, let me go back to Chicago? Let me go back where it's comfortable. Or do I stay here and say, I made the decisions, I can win here, and with my circumstances, the cards that I've been dealt are just a set of cards that I was just dealt with them. Let me figure out what I can do with this hand that I've been dealt with and make something happen rather than making excuses. So that's exactly what I did. So that season didn't end up having surgery, didn't end up getting on the team, and I finally got Medicaid literally the following year, which is crazy. And got the insurance, finally was able to get surgery. And if you guys know ACL surgery, it takes you a full year. So then I had surgery again, and that took me out a full year. If you guys know sports, my clock has started as a freshman. So I played as a freshman, clock is rolling, tear my ACL, not on the team, clock is rolling, year 2 gone. Okay? Then I get, I finally have surgery. I'm out for another year. Year 3, gone. And then now I finally get, hey, it's time. I get on the team. Now I'm finally with the University of Akron. And that year, I mean, it was a great year. That year we went to a bowl game. I finally got to utilize my redshirt year as a redshirt junior at that point. And bowl game, best, probably the best season Akron has ever had, I believe. With that bowl game, finished off 8-5. I believe I played, at my role, my part as part of that team, built a lot of lifetime relationships with friends that I'm still friends with today, and different teammates from the past. But as a redshirt junior, I was like, okay, that was really like my freshman year all over again. And I'm finally getting back into things. So going into my redshirt senior year, like, I'm the biggest I've ever been. I'm 6 foot, 225, solid. I'm putting up 225 for 15 reps. Like, my max bench press was 255. I'm one of the strongest receivers. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm running good routes. And going into going into fall camp, and only athletes are gonna understand this, but going into fall camp, I remember the intensity of summer camp from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. of straight work, right? Meetings, workouts, like more meetings, more practices. And I was grinding out. My body was used. Like, it was being used all over the place from a receiver standpoint. I was playing a little bit outside. I was playing it came to a point because when injuries happen all the time with football, so I was legit going from playing slot receiver to where I was running with the scout team, to where I'm coming back and I'm running with the 2s, I'm running with the 1s. Oh, somebody gets hurt, okay, I'm moving here, and then I'm going back to scout team. I was literally playing all over the place to where it was a lot during that camp. But I remember there was a game we're about to be playing versus VMI, and I believe the 1 and 2 receiver, they were hurt, so I was taking a lot of the reps, and I was taking a lot of reps at once. I'm like, all right, this is my opportunity. I'm going to be able to have an opportunity to play. And I remember making a one cut, running a flat route, and man, I felt a pop in my ankle, and I never felt before. And ever since then, things just never felt the same. Yeah, long story short, I ended up having, it was so bad. This is how bad my ankles were, my feet, to where I had to get taped. I had to wear ankle braces, and I had to spat. Okay, that's a lot on an ankle. Like, there's no mobility to be able to cut a lot. So I even tried switching to running back and trying to see how that could work, but it was very, very tough. So much so that, like, it was a little bit towards the end of this, like, I would say mid to end of season, to where I decided to hang it up. Still part of the team, but like, it didn't feel right on my body. Like, they did everything. They put steroid shots. They put insoles. They put I put things on my shoes. I tried everything, and nothing worked. And I they didn't say it, but I had the feeling that they had given up. So, long story short, end up getting, ankle arthroscopy surgery later down the road, end up having osteoarthritis in my ankles, and it was just so bad. The only person that actually knew what I went through was my wife, because she would see me coming home after practice, and I legit couldn't walk up the stairs. I'd be crawling up the stairs. But I was very thankful at the time at Akron, right? At that time, at Akron, it was a learning opportunity, but most people don't understand the grind of being a walk-on, okay? Because you're not on scholarship. You might get, they give you clothing allowance, they give you some money here and there. You get money for the bowl game, all this good stuff. But my work schedule, especially studying accounting, was not sweet. Like, I'm going from practice at 5 a.m., getting out at like 11 p.m., going to work at like 12 p.m., right? 12 to about 3 or so, right? Couple hours. Then I'm going to class. Then I'm going to night class. I'm literally going from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day, studying accounting, because I had to study. But I had to find a degree that, I knew for sure I was going to be able to get something, out of it. And that's what I did. So ended up graduating, ended up going back to school. I got my master's, and I worked for a lot of big companies in the Northeast Ohio area. And met a lot of great people, spent, several years in corporate America. And just during that time I just realized working for corporate America, it just wasn't where I was going to be long term. I knew I was called for something bigger. I knew I was a leader. I knew there was something in me that was built to be able to help people, teach people how to do different things. And it just wasn't happening in corporate America. But was very thankful. I had a great opportunity where I was able to make six figures in corporate America, but I knew long term there was a bigger purpose for me, right? A purpose that I was going to shift and change into profits to be able to go help build the life that my family deserves to live. And, met my wife along the way while I was at the University of Akron, ended up going, to get my master's, getting a lot of different experience. But then once I graduated, as I was in school or as I was in my career, I had always talked to my wife about being able to take in my brothers, right? Being able to, the mentorship that I didn't have, I wanted to be able to provide it for them. So we actually brought in my brothers, to be able to go to school out here. So, we had positioned ourselves, or we both have, great careers. We're making good money. We wanted support from, my mom was still around, still there, but I was like, I wanted to mentor them because these dudes, they were 6'5" freshmen. I was like, I want to be able to help them get to that next level. So, we took them in and we bounced around. This is another learning experience. They went to, Hoban. We brought them here. They lived with us. They went to school called Hoban. Then they ended up going to St. Vincent St. Mary, and we looked at so many different schools. And now, they're off. They had offers in Toledo. They had interest in Michigan State. They had all the potential in the world. They're currently at Eastern Illinois, and they're freshmen there. And there's a lot of opportunity. So you guys gonna hear more about them, but things behind the scenes from surgery to things that is gonna come in a future episode. But things that happened that most people don't know what we went through during the time that they were here, but another challenging block. But during that time, I was able to be the example that they needed, showing them, what my mom showed me, right? Showing them the work ethic, showing them the possibilities on how to manage money, the amount of money that you can make, and things of that nature. And was super excited about that time. But now it's it's me and my daughters, right? And this is my purpose. This is my wife, my daughters. This is what my whole focus on what I'm doing today is. It's to be able to build a life for these three, right? And then my boy coming soon, okay? And then we gonna be in the trenches working it out. We gonna make some things happen. We gonna start some things, okay? But I was super excited about that, to be able to build something for my family. But that is my why. This is what I do it for. This is my purpose. So my question is, what is your purpose? And is it a burning purpose to where it's gonna push you to actually taking action, and not the action that it dwindles down after you say it, but the type of action that keeps you moving every single day until the job is done, right? The job is done when the job is done. So that is this podcast, right? This is, if you're an aspiring accountant, right? If you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you're a W-2 employee and you want to be some of those things. I firmly believe that building a business, being an entrepreneur, being a real estate investor, you want to get to the point that you own something. You want to be an owner. If you want to benefit from the tax code, if you want to benefit, rather than complaining about what is going on in the economy, rather than complaining about what Trump is doing or what Trump is not doing, rather than complaining, I wanted to start doing, because I knew what hand I was dealt. So what does that mean? It means owning something. The only way for you to benefit from any of these things is to have a business, is to have real estate investments, is to have ownership in something. You have to own something, because right now, if you're just a W-2 employee, right, the government doesn't trust you enough to handle your own taxes. So what do they say? You make money, we're going to take the taxes out of your paycheck, and then you got the left, okay? You got whatever's left. You go do whatever is left. But that's the opposite on what the wealthy do, and what the enlightened do. They have money, they make money, they spend money, and then they pay taxes on what's left. That's a completely different system. And how do you do that? You do that by ownership. And I wanted ownership. I wanted to own my time. I wanted to own my money. I wanted to own my own life, and being able to do things on my own time frame. And that's why I started up, that's why I got into business, right? I ended up starting up, my own accounting firm to where I was able to, scale it to multiple six figures very, very quickly. We're going on 3 years. And, the thing is, most people don't understand. I started this business while I was working a full-time job. I started this business working. So it's not a lack of time. It's a lack of ambition. It's a lack of truly wanting to turn the purpose that you have into profit. So this podcast is going to be geared around giving you real life examples on how to be able to make that happen. What mistakes that you need to overcome, what limiting beliefs that you have that could be stopping you from overcoming those things that or becoming that person that you've been called to be. What are those things? That's what this podcast is going to be about. And I'm super excited to be able to put more people into this community to learn, right? So I'm going to have different guests from, entrepreneurs, so different industries. And I'm excited to be able to share them with you and give you guys practical stuff, not just talking about revenue, but talking about profit and what actually gets results. And for my accountants out there, for my tax preparers out there, for my entrepreneurs out there, and you guys, maybe you're at a crossroads. You don't know, why is my business not growing fast enough, or why don't I have, why don't I have enough clients, or is this the right field that I need to be in? Maybe I don't know what that answer is for you, but I know for me, I've been called to be able to help other entrepreneurs, other accountants, other bookkeepers, other tax preparers. And if that's you, I have a free community. I have a free school community where I break down how to be able to get started, how to be able to scale, how to be able to monetize in all these different areas, because I've been able to generate revenue from multiple streams of everything that falls and has the baseline of entrepreneurship through my accounting firm. And I want to be able to help you do that. So there'll be a link somewhere down below that you guys can be able to dive into and learn a little bit more. But that's all I got for you guys today. That concludes the first episode of the Purpose to Profit podcast. I am super excited to be able to be a part of your journey, right? You guys have heard a little bit of my journey. We'll talk more about that down the road. But I'm super excited to be a part of your journey into uncovering that purpose and generating profit. I'll see you in the next video.